and then we'll just be off to the races and all that, yeah?
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. Okay. Hi there. Welcome to the Ukes podcast. I'm Alex, and this is series two, episode two. But actually, although I'm 12 episodes in, this was the first lady I wrote down on my list to have as a guest on this podcast. And it's only by a really lovely humanitarian reaching out on her part that I even spoke to her and asked her. So, my guest today is Bernadette of Bernadette Teaches Music. How are you?
I am delighted to be here and so happy that we connected through David Thorpe.
Yeah, what a lovely guy. We'll talk about Dave Thorpe first. He's a customer of mine and he's a real loyal supporter of yours. And you seem to know him very, very well. Do you want to say some nice things about Dave and then I'll say some nice things?
Of course, there are only nice things to say about Dave. So, a few years ago, I started a Facebook community called Ukelandia. And the goal of that community was for people to share their videos, their pictures, their photos, and for the community to help each other out. This wasn't about making it a Facebook group about me or my lessons and my tutorials. Actually, if people didn't know it was my group, even better, you know?
Yeah.
And as the group started growing by the thousands, we started needing some help, with people moderating the group and the comment section and everything. And so I went to see who the most engaged people were, and Dave Thorpe was at the very top. And so I was like, let me see what this guy's doing. And he was answering everybody's questions and comments and praising everybody who was putting themselves out there for the first time and performing their first songs. And then as I made him an administrator of the group, of course. And then as time went on and the years went on, I saw that he was collaborating on music with other people and like dedicating some of the songs on his album to some of those members and friends that he made through the group. So I want to say Uglandia is mostly Dave Thorpe's group. Like we're all just there for him.
I love that. Yes, Dave's one of the few customers who sends me a Christmas card and he like makes the Christmas card. And um the day I got it last time was particularly, you have days where you just need that person to be, you need that person to surprise you with something. And yeah, Dave's the kind of guy who just yeah, he just yeah, he makes you smile. And every time he comes in the shop, he's not been in the best of health, but he's always been in the best of spirits. That's what I always find. So I was
Yeah.
really happy when you reached out because the shop, he's a customer that we want him to know that it's not just about him spending money. It's the kind of people that you
Mhm.
continue to work in tough retail for.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love him. And Dave, hey, we love you and we miss you and we hope you get better soon.
Absolutely. Right. So let's talk about you a bit more. So why does Bernadette teach music?
Bernadette teaches music because she couldn't be a veterinarian.
Well, that's very honest. I suppose it would be a very niche channel if you were teaching kind of veterinary practice on YouTube.
I mean, there's stuff that, I mean, people will watch anything out there. There's
That's
a
true.
community for everyone. No, I got accepted to my university as a pre-veterinarian animal science major. And the summer before that, I interned at a pet shop slash animal clinic, and I hated it. I came home crying every day.
Uh,
And I got fired because the pet shop was actually lying about the breeds that they were selling. Like when an animal's like a little puppy and you see golden fur, you can sell it as a golden retriever. Months later, a couple came back and said, "Hey, we were sold a golden retriever," and they had their paperwork, and I was like, "That's not a golden retriever."
oh
The dog
dear.
was sold before I was there. I was like, "That's a cocker spaniel," and I was like, "We've made a mistake. Let me talk to the boss. We'll fix it." And I called the boss, and the boss was like, "Who do you think you are?" And that is a golden retriever. And I was like, and he's like, "And if you have all of these opinions, you should find another job." I was like, I should. I should find another job. And then I told my parents, I'm like, I'm so unhappy working in the animal industry. And so my mom was like, "Well, what makes you happy?" And I thought, like, music makes me happy, and that major's offered at the university I'm going to, so I don't have to change a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I changed to a music major, and I was a saxophone player. And then I got hired by university housing, so I thought maybe I should stay here while I'm getting free housing, and I got my teaching credential and my master's degree in education. And so that's
Amazing.
why I teach music.
That's awesome. And was so obviously you're a sax player, but
Mhm.
at what point did you find the ukulele, or did it, what's your first memory of the ukulele?
I wanted to play guitar, and I was having a really hard time with the guitar.
God, that's
And
painfully relatable to probably 90% of the people who pick up a uke. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and one of my friends really wanted to support me, and I think he had a crush on me, and he gave me a ukulele, and I was like, what is this? Like, no, I don't have time for another instrument. So I had it just in my home, in my dorm, but I never really played it until I had this like urge to travel.
Mhm.
And I saw on because I worked for the campus newspaper as well. I did all the jobs on campus so that I could be there for free and make some money. So I worked for the campus newspaper in the advertising department, and one of the ads was for teaching abroad in China for free. So like you do the teaching and they fly you and house you and feed you. And I was like, that's me because I have $0. And so I applied and I got hired to do the job. And I was going to teach through music. And so I thought I need an instrument, and the saxophone's not really that cute for like having
Yeah.
people sing along. And so I thought the ukulele. And so I went home and started practicing it with the purpose of like, okay, now I'm going to use this to teach. And so I did that for 3 summers. So I would go to school during the school year, and then in the summer I would go and teach in China abroad, and I would take my ukulele and teach songs.
Um, I didn't research this, but I've got this kind of spark in the back of my mind. Did you start doing the videos when you were abroad?
Yes,
I feel
yes. So
like the first videos, yeah.
I came back to the States, and I was actually my band teacher from when I was 10 years old was waiting for me to finish my degree so he could retire and pass the torch to me.
Wow.
So I was like so excited, and I was like, I'm coming, Mr. Rasmussen. And so I applied at the school where he was leaving. I didn't even get a call. They didn't
Oh,
interview me. I know, like that's what I had my mindset on. And then I didn't even land an interview. But the neighboring town gave me an interview and offered me a job. And I was like, this was not the plan. Like, I mean, I'll take the job, but this was not the plan. And it ended up being a better paying job and like a better school, one of the top 25 schools in the nation. So I
wow.
was in a great place.
They obviously have better recruitment officials because they've got the good
Yeah,
staff and they can see potential.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but and they had a choir elective that all the kids at that school had to do if they weren't already in band, which means
Okay.
all kids had some kind of musical training in that school, which is awesome. You don't hear that in public schools. And I was like, can I change that choir to a ukulele class? And they said, well, if you think you can teach ukulele in 16 weeks, I think was the term, and you feel okay doing that every single time you get a new cycle of students, then go for it. And I did. So every kid that year was either in band or ukulelist at that school, like everybody. And near the end of the year, one of my mentor teachers said, like, Bernadette, you're so lucky. Like, on your first year, you got the job you retired from. Like, you're just going to do this for the next 30 years and then you retire.
God,
Exactly.
nothing's gonna make you feel less.
And
Oh
like my
man.
whole world just came crashing down. I was like, and for some people, that's the way to go, you know. And
Yeah.
that would have been me before teaching abroad in China. That would have been like great, awesome. I get to be in my hometown, take care of my parents, and just have that job security. But I didn't. I realized then I didn't want it. And so I don't know if you guys have like a yard sale page. Like in here, it's called Craigslist, and in
Yeah.
Japan, it's called Buku.
Okay.
And so there was a music teaching position available on Buku, and I applied, and they gave me an interview via Skype, and I missed it.
Oh no.
So they called me, and I'm like packing my things because I know I'm leaving. Like I'm leaving. And two of my students came to say goodbye. and I get a Skype call from Japan, and everyone's dressed in suits. Well, they said like it's our interview, and I didn't think about the time difference. I was ready for an interview at a different time, and they were in the future. So I said, "Can I interview now?" And they said, "Yeah." And then my students pop in, and they're like, "Who are they?" I'm like, "My students." And they're like, "Your students are in your house?" I was like, "Yes." And I said they came to say goodbye. And so they asked, "Can we talk to your students?" And I was like, "Sure." So they talked to my students, asked them what they liked about me, asked them what they liked about my classes, and they gave examples like about marching down the parades, and playing music, and how I was funny and how I wasn't like the other teachers, and it played to my advantage and I got the job.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so cool. That's so lovely. What
Yeah.
kind of age range were you teaching?
Well, I thought I was gonna have ensembles to teach. And I get there and they're like, "You're gonna do kinder first and second." And I was like, "What? Do they read music?" No. And they barely speak English because it's an immersion school, and in Japan, kindergarten's not compulsory. So
Oh,
they're coming straight from their Japanese home to like an immersion school. And I thought, I don't even know how to say good morning in Japanese. Like, what am I gonna do?
yeah.
But
I, I guess
mhm,
you have to learn to be a very kind of talk with your hands and demonstrate more. I don't know. I mean, I've all the power to you. I've
mhm.
got a lot of friends that have taught abroad, but that's been thrown in the deep end for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. But that's what I wanted. I
Yeah.
didn't want anything predictable. I needed new, I needed different, I needed crazy, like the typhoons. And I learned enough Japanese to communicate. The kids learned enough English, and in the end, it really didn't matter because I started a ukulele program there, and they learned all of the words they needed to learn for the ukulele. They performed, and as I was getting ready to leave there, I thought I need to make a channel so these kids can continue watching my lessons and continue doing, because they've invested so many years into this
Yeah.
that me leaving the country, like, is that ukulele just gonna gather dust? And so I started the channel because I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but also for them to watch, and it started growing, and here I am now.
Your channel grew so quickly. I remember I started. You don't know much about me, but I manage a ukulele shop in the UK, and I do YouTube as kind of the main part of my job. And I started doing YouTube for the shop pretty much the same time that your channel exploded. So you were one of the ukulele channels that just constantly came up, and yeah, it was really interesting to see it because I was just comparatively a very small channel, but it baffles me. I try and think sometimes from your perspective how far reaching what you do must be, because I meet people all over the world and speak to people all over the world that know what I do, which is maybe 1% the size of what you do. So what's the most interesting fan interaction? Is there a fan interaction, or a student interaction, let's say, rather than a fan interaction, that really sticks out to you as a good memory?
Yeah, so your channel started coming up on my recommended as well, and I was watching your videos to learn from you because you're coming from a completely different background, like where I would watch guitar channels to learn songs,
Hmm.
to learn more about the ukulele, the woods, the care. Like, you had better videos for that and better education. So when Dave Thorpe wanted to feature you on our magazine, I was like, yes, that's
Oh,
awesome.
that
Yeah,
really makes me happy. Thank you for telling me
yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
what was the fan interaction then? Because I
Um,
I get some great answers for this, and I'd love to know yours.
Mine is not a great answer. Mine's really cringy.
They're the best ones.
So, Cynthia Lynn invited me to come to one of her concerts before the NAM show. So the NAM show is like a gathering of musicians and manufacturers and retailers, and it happens in Anaheim every year. And so Cynthia Lynn would do often do a concert like the night before or the night of NAM, because so many people were already coming to the area that it was a nice subscriber meetup. And it's kind of close to where I went to university, so I liked being in the area and stuff.
Mhm.
And so this is the first year that I've come back from Japan. My channel started in Japan and it started growing in Japan. At this point, I already have 100,000 subscribers. And I go to Scintilla's event, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't appear like I was trying to promote myself at her event. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I was very respectful and there as a fan of hers. And so I got in and I sat in the very back. Like I didn't want to bring any attention to myself, but at the same time, I'd never met subscribers. So I don't know if anybody even knows who I am. Like Scintillan
Yeah.
is huge, you know? And so I sit in the back, and then this girl comes in around my age at the time, and she goes, "Oh, Bernadette." And I was like, and she's like, "Hey, it's me." And I was like, and I'm thinking, oh, I must have gone to school with this girl. Like, crazy. I was like, huh? And she says her name. And I'm like, who? She's like, I watch your channel. And I was like, and my face was like, how am I supposed to know, girl? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know this. Come
Yeah.
on, give me some credit. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you. And she's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, oh no,
Oh
I
my, yeah.
totally.
Oh, that is,
And
yeah,
then
that is really cringe, actually. Fair play to you for sharing that.
yeah, and then Katie from One Music School is there, and she sees Katie and she goes, Katie, hi. And I'm like, oh, great, another pork. And Katie goes, hi, how are you? And I was like,
She's got
oh,
it.
that's how I'm supposed to do it. Got it. Taking notes. And she's like, so happy you're here. And Katie was like, warm and lovely and bubbly. And I was over here like, who? Who are you? What? I don't know you, girl.
Oh, you were new to it. Katie's great. She's got the right outgoing personality to meet a stranger and become their best friend. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, no, not me.
but
I'm like,
you were growing into the role, you're growing into the role of ukulele celebrity. And it's a strange celebrity, isn't it? Because it's one of the most niche things that has a massive following. So yeah, I mean, actually, do you know what? You won't remember this because it was a very brief interaction, but I met you at the NAM show just before the pandemic, and you were I was chatting to somebody, and you were chatting to somebody, and then we both turned, and I recognized you, and you thought I was waiting to speak to you, and I wasn't. So I just started talking, and we talked very, very briefly, and I knew who you were. So I mentioned Dave Thorpe because he was even then, such a big fan. And
uh-huh.
fan's the wrong word, friend,
Yeah,
and we talked for about 15 seconds. And then someone asked me if I would take a picture of you with them. So I'm
okay.
talking to you and I take this picture and then I give them their phone back. And then they don't want to talk to you. They walk off. So you keep talking to me. And then somebody else comes, they ask to take a picture. So I do it. And then eventually I just started backing away from you because I was just getting so sick of taking pictures for people. And then about 5 minutes after that, this is one of the best, this is my favorite fan interaction. I was stood at the Canalea stand at NAM, and I'm a Canalea artist, right?
Mhm.
But I'm a nobody, but I play Canalea. Somebody recognized me as I was talking to Jake. Jake's so famous you don't even need to say Shimabukuro. And somebody asked Jake to take a picture of me with this person. And I was like, oh man, if only that happened 5 minutes ago with Bernadette. And then I could have just been, yeah, anyway, we better go because everyone's crowding us, man. Yeah, it was like if I had like a 30-second interaction with you, in which time my skills as a photographer came in handy twice. So yeah. Anyway, let's change the
Oh,
subject. But
I'm so
vulnerability.
sorry. I was so cocky. I thought you were waiting to talk to me. That is cringe. See, I'm very cringy. Like, ooh,
No,
so cringy.
you had just performed um, on the Ohana stand, and I was looking at the stand opposite, and
Hmm.
I had been watching you, um, but I didn't really have anything to say to you,
Right.
but I wanted to say I love what you do. But I don't really I don't I don't watch a lot of tutorial videos, but I love what you do as a fellow content creator because I really appreciate the hustle of it. But in the moment, I was like, I don't know what to say to this woman. Uh, so I was like, I'll just do this instead. And yeah, my like one of my best friends, he came to the show with me, works at the shop, Phil. He just afterwards, he just gave me this double thumbs up as I walked away, feeling really weird. Anyway, I want to, speaking of vulnerable moments, I really want to talk to you about vulnerability. Like you are able to convey, your real life uh, on social media alongside the content, the funny content, serious content. I've learned a lot about social media marketing from you because you're so transparent about it. And I just wanted to ask where you're at now after 6, 7 years. What creative avenue, what content do you do that you get the most out of personally? What keeps you going?
This is a great question, and I feel like our job is a moving target. And I see that this is going to sound terrible, but I see that so many content creators burn out because it's a moving target. You never feel quite accomplished. And for me, like I see that and I'm like, no, I have to keep going. I can't let that happen to me. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying it's going to sound terrible. Um, so there were times where I felt so much creative energy to post on Instagram, and then that would completely go away, and my creative energy would be for YouTube, and then that would go away, and then I would come back to Instagram. But actually, my top earning media or method is Patreon.
Hmm.
That's the most consistent income that I get as a creator. And so for me now, the motivation is funneling people to Patreon because I do the live lessons every single week so they can tune in and they can learn from me and I can see them playing. We develop friendships and relationships. I'm actually planning a Patreon meetup and it's going to be here in my hometown. So it's an invitation for them to come see me and for us to like just be together in the same space. Um, but I think that YouTube and Instagram are great funnels into those spaces.
Okay.
So I would say both Instagram and YouTube, if seen as tools, are great. But if you're depending on views and on follows, then you're going to be unhappy.
Yeah. It's just that sense of validation is just never going to be there, is it?
No, it's never there. And um, most weeks I lose 300 followers for like the 312 I gain. So it like the growth is really not there. It's whether you can funnel people to your shop or to Patreon or to watch or to leave a comment. Like that makes more sense. So I've learned to focus less on the follower number and focus more on whether it's converting into sales or Patreon membership or it like just good relationships with other people.
Well, that makes loads of sense. And yeah, the other half of that question then. So, is there a thing at the moment that you do that is giving you the most joy? Because I understand, I have a Patreon and I do videos, and I find I go through ruts with the videos, and then when that happens, I enjoy doing the podcast. So, what are you enjoying right now?
Whew. Um, I think now I've just gotten into a groove, like it's a routine or it's a habit, to just make the videos, put them out there, and literally forget about me posting them so that I'm not constantly looking at the views or comments.
Yeah.
Um, What brings me the most joy? I would say the store right now brings me the most joy. Like I love, love, love receiving an order, packaging the uke, adding the little extras like the clip-on tuner or a capo or the stickers or a note or something. And if it's someone whose name I've seen before, like on my Instagram and on Facebook or on Ukelandia, like that person is really committed to the community, so I want to throw a little something extra. And when I look at the reviews on my shop, I see people say like I was surprised at the little extras, or it felt like I was opening a gift, or it felt like it
Yeah.
was my birthday. And so it's not about the freebies. I think it's mostly like them knowing I care. And I put that into each package. And just yesterday I sent out 3 or 4 ukes and I prayed for them that like they would bring joy to the people who end up playing the instrument, you know? So like I care a lot about the instruments I'm sending out, and it's just been really fun.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you know you come across as so authentic. You know, when I was doing some research to think what to ask you, you know, seeing your videos, you know, 3, 4 years ago and through the pandemic to now, you know, there's a real development, and I can totally see how people that come along for the journey, you know, they feel like they've got to know you, and if they order something from you, why you want to give that back in your own way. I mean, I love it too. It's my favorite thing about my job is the feedback and talking to people after they've bought an instrument, and I totally understand. So how do you maintain, if you're in this constant loop of creating content, how do you maintain a good work-life balance as a content creator?
I don't. I
Oh,
don't.
there
I
you
don't
go.
have balance. No, not at all. I'm totally out of balance. I If I wake up in the middle of the night to feed the baby a bottle and I'm awake, I go in and check social media. If I can answer a few comments here and there, I do it. And then when I wake up, if I see her, she's playing independently, I go and check and respond to an email or two. And then when she's napping, I like hustle really hard because I know she's napping. But there's no balance. Yesterday, I was teaching my Patreon classical guitar lesson, and she came in wearing nothing but a diaper, and she was right here making everybody laugh. Like, it's just so intertwined, you know, like
Yeah.
I just live it all day.
But that's working for you. So, you know, then in your own way, you've got your own work-life balance. So, you know, that's my
Yeah.
political way of turning that around and answering my own
Hmm.
question.
What
I
I've seen a
guess,
lot of online is it's more trending now. I don't know if you've heard of like quiet quitting, but there's it seems to be more of a trend towards don't give so much to a job that you feel selfless or like you feel lost in it. And then I've seen more on Instagram, like the definition of burnout is when you're doing something that's not meaningful to you. So it's not that you're doing too much. Even though I post a video and maybe it doesn't get all the views or all the comments or it flops, like at this point, like I just know some of them are gonna flop and some of them are gonna thrive, and I can't be like, I don't know, like a junkie waiting for that next
yeah,
high.
yeah, that's very relatable. Um, I don't know. I've been doing it the same kind of amount of time as you, but on a much smaller scale. But it is my day job, and the pandemic for me, I found I've come back around now. But towards the end of last year, I kind of fell out of love with talking to camera, which was something I find very natural. And it's only really in the last couple of months I've found, I don't know, when I watch the videos back, I'm like, yeah, I'm myself again. But for a while, it was just, I was just churning things out, and, you know, I wasn't necessarily kind of being true to myself. So, you know, it's a tough thing, this creative balance. But you do it very, very well. So I guess we'll wrap things up, because we only have 5 minutes left of this Zoom call because I'm not paying for Pro Zoom. The When are you coming to the UK, Bernadette? When are you going to come to the Southern Ukulele store?
So, my husband Jaime says he's always, always, always wanted to visit the UK. So that's like the one place he's very curious about. He's never left the continent. So he says like, I really want to go to the UK. And I'm like, all right, then once we're ready, that could be our first stop. And I told him like we can fly to New York, break it up there for a day or
Hmm.
two, and then from New York fly to London. And that way it doesn't feel so long and awful. So I think once Daniela's maybe 3 or 4, she's turning 2 soon.
Okay,
So in a year or two, I think we'll be able to do it.
amazing. Well, I look forward to meeting you in person, and yeah, we can laugh about how many times this Zoom call glitched. And
Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll plan something. We'll plan a little meetup or workshop or something at the park. We'll have fun.
thank you for supporting my channel by giving me your time today. I'll let you go back and plant another tree now.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I have one left to plant actually.
Great. Thanks, Bernadette.
All right, see you soon.